don't know about you guys, but I remember a time when rage bait wasn't so obvious.
What's the most dangerous animal on the planet?
Shark.
White people, when they feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, after that trailer that seemed solely designed just to stir up controversy, I wasn't really expecting much from the American Society of Magical Negroes. I figured it would just be another Velma-esque ranty tirade about white people and probably rich people, you know, standard Hollywood 200 megatons of subtlety and corporate-approved edginess. Like, this isn't novel or even interesting at this point. What I was not prepared for was a movie delivering a philosophy so obsessed with self, I'm surprised writer Kobe Levy hasn't starved to death on a riverbank somewhere. It also accidentally displayed what victim mentality looks like in a spectacular way. So, am I gonna dad mode about this? Obviously. Look, let's do an overview of what the movie is, what it is not, what the writer says that it's about, and then I'll get into the meat of this movie's disgusting, selfish message and how it serves as an excellent warning against the dangers of victimized thinking. So if you were expecting Black Harry Potter, I'm sorry, this is not it. There's barely any magic in this movie about magical Negroes. Something that you quickly see is the movie doesn't know where it wants to go. Is it a commentary on racism? Is it satirizing a trope? Is it a rom-com? Is it an autobiographical fanfic power fantasy? It's all and none. Here's how Kobe describes it in multiple interviews.
Part of the message of the film is about the false promise of assimilation. The idea that even though Justice and I have this incredible privilege because of our skin color, because of the white advocates who are in our lives, we're still treated as black in America.
He also said this about the character.
Even though I originated this character and wrote him and he came from my own brain and he's based on me, you actually know him even better than I do at this point, you know?
And there we have the confirmation of a self-insert in character Aaron. Hey, it's all the rage these days. Oh, self-Aaron-sert. Huh? His interviews show that he wanted to do a race message about being black in America, and I want you to keep that in mind.
That's a surprise tool that can help us later.
I like to watch these interviews when I'm doing a review like this because then you don't misinterpret things. You hear exactly what the writer wanted you to know. The movie centers around Aaron, who is a pitiful, sad sack of a man, and his life is not going great. He isn't a commercially successful artist because he sells yarn sculptures. Here, I want to show you what that looks like. Really take that in, because the movie is going to explain that his failures are due to white people when he sells these for a living. Oh, how do you start a movie off like this? I'm supposed to feel for this guy? This is the sympathetic main character? He can't sell his knockoff Thneed, so he wanders home dejectedly from the art gallery, and a drunk girl hands him her purse because she wants to use an ATM. And this is all in full view of her boyfriend, who's walking up the street. That's him right there. Kobe doesn't know any other way to show racism, so when the stumbling drunk girl says she can't find her purse, Brad here immediately starts running at Aaron to attack. The would-be confrontation is stopped, however, by a little magic and the arrival of smooth-talking David Alan Grier. Now pause right here, because the narcissism starts off right away. Aaron is unable to sell his yarn. Again, literally a bunch of knitted yarn hanging on a line. He tells the gallery owner that he doesn't mind it not selling, he just wishes someone would get him.
You know, I don't really need anyone to buy my art. It would just be nice if someone understood it.
The gallery owner correctly chastises him because it's her gallery and things do actually need to sell. But his attitude here shows the flaw in the character that is never solved because Kobe doesn't see it as a flaw. Aaron wants other people to get him. He's the most important. He doesn't care about the gallery owner, doesn't care about the patrons, doesn't attempt to educate them, serve them in any way. The art is an extension of himself, and that's all that matters. We'll talk about this more in a minute with regard to white guy Jason, but Aaron never makes a single attempt to get anyone else. He wants to be understood, as we all do, but he never tries to understand other people. He also doesn't even get himself. He wants all this external validation because he has none internally. It's a common problem with selfish people. That's why they need so much attention. Look at me! So self-Aaron-cert never learns from any of this. It's not a bug, it's a feature in the writer's eyes. Also, Grier's character is about to inform Aaron that white people are the real culprits behind his failure, not the yarn. Unfortunately, the movie doesn't ever show it. Aaron can't walk through this crowd. A buyer thinks he's a waiter. White Brad instantly attacks poor black Aaron, but these only look like racism if you're already on the lookout for it. If not, what this movie does show us is a sad man with zero self-confidence and no marketable skills who runs into some drunks who behave like drunks. But David Allen Greer comes along, says his problems are really due to racism. Even daps him up a little bit, so it can't be his fault.
I have done nothing wrong, ever, in my life.
And is it dap or dab? Huh. It could be either one.
You I get. I don't want to take you to a job interview because I think you're very talented. You've got talent.
What skills? What talent? Doesn't matter. It's all a con just to bring him in. Later on in the movie, we're going to see another example of Greer's victim baiting and of racism failing to land when Aaron and Greer are supposed to help this cop feel cool, so they show up to a club, and Aaron thinks everyone is looking at him. Now, the movie says, look at all these racist people. No, seriously, Greer actually says that.
I know you can feel their discomfort, Aaron. It's the loudest thing in every room you walk into. Probably has been your whole life.
But the viewer is just as likely to think, oh, okay, wow, a bunch of stuck-up douchebags are outside of a club judging somebody. What's new? Or it might even make sense to them. They see that Aaron looks homeless in this handmade sweater, and then he's joined by what appears to be his grandfather in a trench coat, and then this awkward white guy who just jumped straight out of a 1993 Sears menswear ad.
In my khaki pants, there's nothing better.
I mean, I think I might stare too. Here again, we see the selfish attitude, though, that leads to victim mentality. Oh, these people are staring at me. They're judging me.
This whole thing, all of this, it's all about me.
It's pretty damn presumptuous to think that you're so important that strangers are going to stop to look at and think about you. Now, there's great advice for this. The original self-help section is actually called Stoicism, and I personally think everything that Marcus Aurelius ever wrote should be read by Red Foreman. Here.
Eric, your problem is that you think you have a right to be mad at the world and that you're so important. The world should notice. Dumbass.
It works, right? How do we start a petition to get Kurtwood Smith to narrate that book? Seriously, though, I know this has a bad name because certain people online have now turned it into broicism, but this is great advice to take ownership of your life. I've been kind of trying to do that with my health. Let me talk to you about it real quick. Hey there, guys. Just up in the gym working on my fitness, and Huel's my witness. Now, I know what you're thinking. Greg, are you trying to be a gym-fluencer, trying to increase your female audience? No, it's not like that. I'm just 40, things hurt where they didn't used to, and I'm tired all the time. So, I'm using Huel in 3 ways. First, I'm using their Black Edition powder and their ready-to-drink shakes as at least 1 meal a day, usually breakfast. These things are so easy to make, takes 30 seconds, and this is a nutritionally complete meal. Amy, tell them what it's got.
Vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C.
Correct, and also 24 other vitamins and minerals. This is full of really good energy, lots of protein, carbs, and fat to keep you full and happy. That wasn't a joke. You need fat for hormone regulation. It literally makes you happy. Now, feeling full keeps my inner fat kid from wanting snacks, but I also drink this after strength training for that 40 grams of protein and to refuel with those carbs and fats. Macronutrients aren't enough, though. That's why, lastly, I've got these Huel ready-to-drink daily greens. I like to think of this like a drinkable multivitamin. It supplements all those micronutrients that you need, and it tastes great. I had to save these to film. Now I can finally drink the last peach hibiscus. New customers can get 15% off these or all of their products if you go to Huel.com/GregOwen, use the code GregOwen. I left links below. There's a QR code. Here's to your health. You know, I actually do use the stuff that I show, the Huel, the rower from this summer, and I am furious to report to you guys that the health people maybe were possibly correct. I actually am feeling better, and I'm just really mad that this is what it takes to feel good.
Can you take some more? Can you? Do you want it?
I want it. He's broken me. I'll say anything now.
Now we get to what should be a hilarious commentary on how victim mentality is created in the youth. Like, if I wanted to demonstrate that, I would have written this exact scene. But the writer's interviews don't make it seem like he gets that at all.
We should be able to stay safe in America, but I think even for us, it's a lie.
David Allen Greer takes Aaron to a bar after the purse thing, and he starts convincing him that his life sucks because of white people.
You know, these white folks looking at you crazy, that doesn't bother you? It's a goddamn menace.
It's not like it happens every day.
So you saying people don't look at you like that every day?
So Greer brings Self-Air Insert to the headquarters for the American Society of Magical Negroes, and he is told that they exist to make white people feel comfortable so that those savages won't hurt black people. And we poke a little bit of fun at the magical Negro trope, but that doesn't actually last very long because that trope doesn't actually exist. The movie quickly forgets that it wanted to be a satire of said trope anyway, and will not be exploring it any further than 2 jokes. So it really was the title just for shock value. Okay. You can't satirize a thing that doesn't exist, which is why the movie starts falling apart instantly. The magical Negro idea is an idiotic lie that was invented by Spike Lee, who believes that everyone, everywhere, is thinking about race all the time.
Brothers and sisters fighting is as natural as a white man's dialogue in a Spike Lee movie.
What's up? Can I get 2 slices of pepperoni?
He thinks he can trace every problem in the world to white supremacy in the way that Gus Portocalos thinks he can show how every word is actually Greek in origin.
There you go.
So the guy whose every movie and interview is about race said that he sees black people being used as props in movies. I'm shocked that he has this opinion. And we've just run with it like it's true when no one has any actual examples? Sorry, correction. There are 2 examples. Bagger Vance and John Coffey. That's all anybody knows. In the last 40 years of cinema, everybody has 2 examples. Doesn't sound like a trope. I actually did look for more examples, and Wikipedia has a handy guide. Chubbs from Happy Gilmore, Lucius Fox, Hitch. These are not magical Negroes, they're supporting characters. What I'm getting here apparently is if a black actor is not the lead, it's a trope now? It makes sense. Spike Lee thinks anyone who looks like him should be the main character. Don't need a special term for that either. That's a disease called narcissism. And it's colorblind, baby. But that's what defines this entire movie. There is a cure. You know, if it weren't for the side effect of gibbering insanity, I could almost wish that the total perspective vortex was a real thing, and every person would be legally obligated to look into it every 5 years or so. I think that would improve society. Second best thing, though, would be required food or retail work for everybody, like it's military service. Hopefully it's not improbable that you'll hit that like button. I'll be right back, don't panic. I'm back with 1 mug to rule them all. Also, I think I found a tea brand that rules them all. One time I bought a pack of Yorkshire, I kind of as a joke, like a visual gag, because it is perfectly balanced. But the people that make that, Taylors of Harrogate, also make herbal tea, which I am drinking currently because it's 8 p.m. This is mandarin and ginger. It is delightful.
I'm a man who drinks tea.
The Magical Society teaches a class about how they only present the sides of blackness that white people are comfortable with. Now, hang on. First of all, saying that black people have to hide their authenticity for people to feel comfortable. So is Kobe kind of saying that like true blackness is not socially acceptable or appropriate? Sort of an own goal there, but okay. The more important thing in this scene is how it reveals Kobe's disdain for having to only present the sides of himself that are acceptable to others, because his ego has its own freaking gravitational pull. He feels that everyone needs to know him completely and refuses to accept that he is not the main character. Everyone only knows the parts of you that serve the moment. Your boss, your coworkers, they don't know the real you. They know the you that gets the job done and makes office small talk, in the same way that you don't know the real them. The Magical Society has more problems than simply being based on a false premise, though. Their magic doesn't make any sense. Now, we're told that black people realized they had magic powers during slave times, and they used those powers to make the white masters happy so they could survive. With magic, that doesn't... Okay, anyway, but magic usually has some kind of rule, so yeah, there's probably a good reason they couldn't do more, right? No? We're just gonna move on? Okay. Yeah, magic's kind of a difficult thing to write. I mean, if you don't think hard, it can quickly become a whatever you want plot device. That's exactly what happened. The rules of the magic here seem to be something that Kobe wrestled with not at all. He just went... Yeah, okay. If one Negro is selfish and disobeys society leadership, then all Negroes lose their powers. Well, that's convenient to create tension on paper. Can you guess whether it works on screen? So if I had this straight, Aaron is being told by black people that his true blackness makes others uncomfortable, so he has to hide that his problems are caused by others, but the solution is to indulge those people even more, and if he doesn't do what black leadership tells him, then all black people will suffer. And I'm supposed to walk away from this movie thinking that racism is the problem? Okay. So Aaron gets his first mission, and he's assigned to Jason, who works at Meatbox, which sounds like an adult film title, but it's really a social media company with a caricature of a capitalist for its CEO. Now, I'm not sure what this little guy Jason is going to do to black people if he's not happy, but it doesn't actually matter. See, we don't care about that anymore. That information was only relevant for Greer's initial speech. We've moved on. We don't need that anymore. Come on, keep up. Aaron meets Lizzie, who works with Jason, and Aaron likes Lizzie, but he's commanded by Black HQ to stand down and set her up with Jason. Now, this is actually the only part of the movie that's any good. Credit where it's due, this is the area where Libby really needs to focus because he seems to actually be a great rom-com writer. Before Aaron gets to that first day on the job, he's getting coffee, and he literally runs into Lizzie, played by Ann Lee Bogan. He offers to buy her a new coffee, and they're standing in line talking, and it's really one of the best meet cutes I've seen in a while. Really, anytime these two are flirting or just hanging out, getting to know each other, their chemistry is excellent. If this had simply been a boy meets girl and comes out of his awkward shell movie, I think it would have been the feel-good hit of the season. Justice Smith really is a good actor. He's like a Jay Baruchel, and this could have been a modern She's Out of My League, which, if you haven't seen it, what are you even doing? Finish my video, obviously, but then go watch it immediately.
Just trust me, okay?
You know, the ironic thing is that the part of the movie that I enjoyed was the part where the characters weren't walking Berkeley bumper stickers. They were regular people dealing with relatable problems, acting naturally. Their personalities drove the scenes instead of Libby's lust for racial justice. Weirdly, a story is more engaging and enjoyable when people are people and not overt symbols. If Kobe can get over this stupid victim mentality, I think he's got a fine career in rom-coms ahead of him, which we need more of. Richard Curtis can only make so many. There's room for more.
I agree.
Unfortunately, he wrote a movie whose main philosophy was wildly selfish, like himself, so the plot just goes off the rails. Self-insert Aaron blames everyone else for his problems, and in the final minutes of the final act, suddenly grows out of his lack of confidence just because he's the protagonist. As we know, however, every protagonist needs a villain, and this is a scary one. It's Jason!
Yo, who took my tugboat?
Yep, Jason here is what is standing in the way of Aaron's joy, or at least him getting a date. Actually, it's leaders of the Negro monolith, but don't look at that! Jason is a real prick for just existing and not bothering to understand the main character, Aaron. Aaron is feeling put upon for having to cater to Jason, and like a TikTok fitness girl, he's feeling judged by everyone who happens to look in his direction. Now, Libby, whether he knows it or not, is actually exploring an idea of Jean-Paul Sartre's known as the look, which he wrote about in this book, Being and Nothingness. This is why people hate philosophy, right? I get it, the title is inspired by this guy, but this is still the most pretentious book title I've ever seen. The guy's French, so a little's expected, but it actually gets worse inside. There's a section in here called The Dialectical Conception of Nothingness. Come on.
I don't care, said Pierre. I'm from France.
Sartre wrote about how being observed and knowing that other people have invented a version of us that's not real or complete, and we can never know exactly what it is. This knowledge leads to a whole mix of emotions, but often shame, guilt, and a feeling of being exposed, somehow. What Kobe does not consider, but Sartre did, is that the look works both ways. When we observe others, we create our own version of them in return. Again, this can lead to us feeling those same feelings of shame, this time sort of voyeuristically, but also sometimes a secret pride or power. Hey, hi. Back here in reality, though, when we imagine ourselves through the perception of others, what we're really doing is making up a version of that person and how we think they see us, and then thinking about ourselves through that invented perception, the one that we just made up. And I know that sounds exhausting, because it is. You find yourself exhausted a lot, could be due to this mental hamster wheel that you got yourself on. So get off. Shoo. Go on now. The point is, when Kobe writes his generic straw man Jason that Aaron is supposed to tend to, he quite literally puts him in a box. Meat box, the place where he works. We only see Jason outside of his box in one scene. He is an amalgam of all the negative ideas that Libby has ever assigned to white guys. And it's actually pretty funny that Jason's total lack of depth or character reveals that Libby is unable to see white people as people, only obstacles to himself, because he's the most important. The sad thing is that he's accidentally set himself up for a great commentary on selfishness that would have hit hard if he weren't bent on bludgeoning the audience with his diary entries. We're supposed to see Jason ignoring Aaron, and we're supposed to dislike him. But Aaron doesn't bother to get to know Jason. Aaron feels invisible. Jason feels pressure. Aaron wants to be heard. Jason wants to not be drowning at work. They could be helping each other, but neither one sees the other, which is the real tragedy of the story. Just kidding. Jason is a piece of crap. You hate him. You don't ask questions.
Why? Because fuck him, that's why.
And this next part is pure conjecture, just my personal attempt at psychoanalysis, but I think Libby's attitudes are exaggerated to fit in. My belief is that he, as a biracial person, never experienced the severe kinds of racism that you see in your history books, but also he still wasn't accepted into the cool white club with all of its benefits. Because that doesn't exist. What's likely is that Kobe was raised on tales of white privilege and systemic racism and yada yada yada, but never experienced either the negative or positive extremes of the race narrative. So now, this movie is his attempt to be with the cool oppressed kids. This movie is a therapy session. Interestingly, the two women who we actually see mistreat Aaron are white women. Make of that what you will.
So do you believe that your white mothers prepared you all for the adversities that you would face in the world?
Obviously, like, we had lots of discussions about, like, Aaron also being biracial and also having a white mother, and I think that it's pertinent to his journey, and I think it is context for why he moves through white spaces the way he does. I know that in my own upbringing, that growing up in a society that sees me the way that it does, and having a parent who does not understand fundamentally the way that her son is going to be treated by the world, it's isolating.
You always play psychologist with us.
Remember, Kobe said his movie is about the lie of assimilation, but I think the real lie is what he told himself assimilation would be like. He truly believed white people have like secret handshakes or something. We pull each other up while kicking down those darn coloreds. He never experienced that white paradise because it was never real. I think it's more than just a hunch, though. Here he is talking about the difficulties of being biracial.
To me, it's really important to see that even people as light as Justice and myself, and even people as accommodating as the character play in the film, even they are not invited into the full privileges of whiteness. And that I think helps clarify that you know, we're never really going to be able to let in. Doesn't matter how nice we are. So let's maybe let that false talking point fall away.
That right there, that is victim mentality right there, exactly. Kobe has this fantasy about oppression that he has not faced. The man has had a ton of opportunities, and about this white utopia that he's missing out on. He's been trying at entertainment for over 15 years. He went to Yale to study theater. Judging from this movie's writing, maybe the real problem is he's just not that skilled. Now, as Aaron starts to fall for Lizzie, he begins to feel that she is not being treated fairly by Jason or their supervisor. This is known as simping. In a later scene, Aaron and Jason are blowing off some steam, playing an Oculus game, and Kobe reveals the philosophy that everyone deserves things just because of who they are, not if they work or not. Instead of the famous, I think, therefore I am, cogito ergo sum, Libby gives us a new twist, sum ergo merior, I am, therefore I deserve. He tries to ask leading questions about Lizzie not getting the chance to present their project, or about why Jason deserves credit and why she doesn't. What has he done that she hasn't?
I mean, sure, there's luck and talent and stuff, but I feel like mostly people get what they work for.
But don't other things contribute to your success?
Like what?
The point of the scene is to show that Jason has no idea. He doesn't think about other people, and he just got lucky because he's a white man. I'll answer the questions. No, Lizzie doesn't deserve the things Jason has. Jason has worked harder and longer and obviously more effectively. He's given his life to live inside this box. And from my perspective, that's not at all worth it. The plot involves him being miserable and alone. Remember, why are we suddenly jealous of him being recognized by his boss, the evil capitalist? Why do we want that all of a sudden? As is typical of the everyone deserves everything crowd, Libby wants to simultaneously treat workplace success as luck and no big deal when people he doesn't like achieve it, but also as very important and a marker of credibility that should be given to people he does like. I know communists don't like this, but everything in life does have a cost and a value, and it's up to you to assess that value for yourself. Epictetus had great advice about this involving lettuce, and actually I'm going to go ahead and just read you the entire thing because it's really that important. Has any man been preferred before you at a banquet, or in being saluted, or in being invited to a consultation? If these things are good, you ought to rejoice that he has obtained them, but if bad, be not grieved because you have not obtained them. And remember that you cannot be considered worthy of equal things if you do not do the same things in order to obtain what is not in our own power. For how can you obtain an equal share with another when you do not visit a man's doors as that other man does, when you do not attend him when he goes abroad like the other man does, when you do not flatter him as the other man does? You would be unjust then and insatiable if you wish to obtain them for nothing, if you do not part with the price in return for which those things are sold. Consider, what is the price of lettuces? An obolus, perhaps? If then a man gives up the obolus and receives the lettuces, and you do not give up the obolus and do not receive the lettuces, do not suppose that you receive less than him, for as he has got the lettuces, so you have the obolus that you did not give away. In the same way then in the other matter, you have not been invited to a man's feast, for you did not give the host the price at which the supper is sold. He sells it for flattery, he sells it for personal attention. Give then the price if it's for your interest, but if you wish both to not give the price and obtain the things, you are insatiable and silly. Have you nothing then in place of the supper? You have indeed. You have the not flattering of the man whom you did not choose to flatter. You have the not enduring of the man when he enters the room. Yeah, it's good stuff. I'm going to get some more tattoos one of these days. They're just kind of expensive. Probably going to get some Final Fantasy Black Mages like throughout the years, Pixelated and Tactics, and definitely Vivi. But also, I'm kind of thinking about maybe getting like a lettuce with a coin in the middle, because this paragraph is that good. The final climactic speech could have been a TikTok of somebody shouting in their car.
I'm sorry! Have been so deeply indifferent to whether or not I exist.
Jason has a product launch. He's under a ton of stress, and he wants Aaron to help him with the launch because Aaron's black, and the company had some contrived bad PR thing involving race. Finally, though, Aaron snaps and starts yelling a monologue pulled straight from Tumblr or Blue Sky.
I don't care if you're racist. Dude, everyone's racist.
Aaron.
I care that you won't acknowledge what just happened and make space for the reality that I live in a country that makes me feel like it wants me dead.
He's yelling about being invisible and how Jason doesn't see him and only cares about himself, which is pretty freaking rich from what we've seen from Aaron this movie.
All you had to do was listen to me and the thing that I was saying about myself.
Only me. He yells his grievances at the confused Jason, who idiotically didn't realize that main character Aaron had a whole isekai power fantasy saga playing out in his mind, and now he, Jason, is the final anime boss. Aaron drops the mic and leaves Jason in stunned silence, and everybody on the bus starts clapping. Aaron runs off to be with Lizzie, but of course the magic goes away and she's going to be mind wiped because, I don't know. The end of the movie is Libby thinking he's being really cute, but it actually undermines the entire thing. Twist ending, Lizzie is part of a magical girlfriend trope society, and her job was to boost Aaron's confidence. Whoa!
You're a genius!
The funny thing is that this single little joke ruins Libby's entire point with the movie. Everything Aaron goes through was falsely validated by Lizzie to make him feel good. So he, doesn't assault women, I guess? But if we're still supposed to feel for Aaron, then we also now have to project those same feelings onto Jason. But the movie forgets that part. This is why the interviews are important. What's incredible to me about this movie is how it ends up showing the total opposite of what Libby intended. He thought he was displaying the difficulties of black people in a racist society, but he ended up showing how groups end up oppressing themselves by taking on victim mentality. He also showed us the blinding nature of selfishness, not through his intended target Jason, but through Aaron, who can't see past his own nose and is so caught up in his own problems, he doesn't realize he's the butt of the meta joke at the end. Libby thought Greer's character would show the pain of older generations who faced racism, but he ends up being the perfect example of how victimhood gets passed on from one person to another, one generation to the next. What Aaron really needs is a positive male role model in his life to tell him to nut up and lock in, get out of his own head, out of his own way, decide on what he wants and why, make a plan, work the plan. Instead, he gets this enabler. Later on, after Aaron has thrown a fit and broken away from society and the movie's about to end, Greer still doesn't even care about him. He's just curious how Aaron's going to work it out.
I'm curious to see how you're going to make it out of all this.
Greer's character is an excellent contrast of what so-called privilege really is. It's the lack of this. It's growing up without an older figure pulling you aside and letting you know, hey, the world's going to kick you in the nuts no matter what. Don't trust those people. They're out to get you. But for decades, people in protected groups have had a harder time building those habits, not because of white insecurities or whatever other crap Libby's on, but because of everyone around them, and some outside, like celebrities and politicians, infantilizing them, telling them it's not their fault, nothing they could have done. Here, we'll set some quotas so you poor helpless babies can stand a chance. You're welcome. And now, we've got young men and young women being fed this same slow poison on the internet, and it makes me really sad.
I'm the victim. Me.
This is why I go on rants about guys like Tate, Sosnick, Rollo, Fresh and Fit, all these miserable losers who are preying on men who really need help, but they instead get stuck in this selfish web of cope and awfulness. There are a lot of guys online who will keep you hooked to watching them by enabling you, telling you it's somebody else's fault. I'm told they teach self-improvement. They do not. They teach you to live in survival mode. Put up walls, grind in silence, get gains. If you follow that life, you're likely to end up single, but with a ton of money and cool stuff.
Long, lean, good-looking, multi-millionaire.
Smart, reasonable.
You're the full package.
1 minute later.
Well, I'm 50 years old and I've never been married, so...
If you want those things, listen to people that have them. Don't listen to people like me if you want to get super rich or own your own business. I can't help you. I have no idea. But in the same way, don't listen to childless bachelors if you want to be married for a long time and have a bunch of kids who actually like you, because they have no idea. And if I was a betting man, I would say that most of you guys want the white picket fence and the family, not the Bugatti. You just got to make sure that your actions and your goals match each other. Do you want the money or do you want the lettuce?
Show me the lettuce!
The final big, angry speech with Aaron alludes to the ultimate extreme end dangers of victim thinking as well. He feels completely justified in his rage at Jason, who has no clue what's going on. Aaron has assigned Jason the status of villain, and he's been slowly building up this resentment and self-righteous fury, unbeknownst to anybody else. He's caught up in his own fiction, romanticizing himself as David, taking on Goliath. The good news is that the fix is simple, though maybe not easy. It does take a lot of practice. You gotta understand something. Nobody cares about you and you're not that important.
Dumbass.
That sounds bad. I actually mean that in really the best way, I promise. It sounds terrible, but it's actually very freeing. Like, look back at that scene where Aaron thinks the club people are staring at him. He's absolutely paralyzed. It's ruining his life. But ask yourself, how often do you really stare at people in open judgment like that? Probably not much. And it's not because you're some paragon of virtue. It's just you're busy. You've got your own thoughts. You're not thinking about other people. You probably genuinely don't notice most of the people in the world. Well, they don't notice you either. So why care? Same thing applies to the importance bit. Okay, so you don't stare judgily at people, but you've judged some people in public. Look, we all have, all right? You've seen a weirdo and you've thought, hey, look at that weirdo.
Look at that thing. Nature is amazing.
Then what happened next? They left your mind instantly, right? Because they're not that important. Same goes for you. Some of y'all are carrying around the burden and self-imposed pressure of thinking that you are being seen all the time. You would be shocked and probably relieved to know just how little you are noticed by the general public around you. So quit worrying about it. But the last thing to notice is when Aaron is happy in this movie. It's when he's not thinking about himself and how others might see him. When he's trying to make up for a spilled coffee and ends up talking to a girl, when they're hanging out together, when he tells Magical Society HQ to suck it and runs off to be with her. Sadly, The need for that ending joke ruins it all, but just pretend for a minute that didn't happen. Do you see the pattern here? When you're thinking about other people, trying to make their life better in some way, you don't have time to worry about who's looking at you or what they might be thinking. Service is a privilege. It's healthy. It's good for you. When you search out ways to serve other people, you don't have room for selfishness or victim thinking. You got this. I appreciate you watching. See you next time.